Welcome, Laura. How are you?
I'm well. Welcome to you, Erin. How are you?
I'm good. It's just Laura and I today, folks. We this is our 52nd episode. So that means we've been at this for a year. Podcasting, sort of a new thing Laura and I are trying. We've come a long way, haven't we?
I think so. I think so. I think back to how much editing you had to do in the beginning relative to how much editing needs to be done now. So progress.
Honestly, yeah, and I think a lot of people started podcasts this year or dreamed of starting a podcast this year. There's lots of podcasts, and I think when we started it, we thought it was going to be pretty easy because both of us are decently good at like conversing, but it's
Right.
so different once that record button goes and you're trying to it's definitely a learning curve.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. And just, I don't know, I guess trying to make it sound like a natural conversation, even though there's I mean, always keeping that end audience in mind, right? Our end audience of health coaches. Okay, great. This is a great conversation, but how is this relevant to our audience and our health coaches? And because it's easy to kind of go down a rabbit hole, and end up in a conversation that's not as relevant as we might have wanted it to be.
Exactly. Yeah. So you guys let us know. You can always reach out to us. What is our email address? hello@primalhealthcoach.com. If you have any feedback or questions or topics you'd like to see, we would love to hear them. And remember, we're always trying to bring, yeah, like Laura just said, we're trying to bring these topics around so that they're relevant to aspiring or practicing health coaches. And so just to close the loop, I forget who I was listening to. I was listening to a podcast, I think it was a business coach potentially, and they were giving some tips to new entrepreneurs. And of course, one of the consistent tips is consistently create content.
Mhm.
But now there's a sea of content options. You can be blogging, you can be posting on social feeds, you could be doing a podcast. And podcasting was one of the ones that was suggested, like just
Mhm.
start talking
Mhm.
and maybe people will listen. Maybe they won't. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast, just go for it. It's
Yeah,
fun.
man, and keep that audience in mind, right? So while we're keeping in mind that our end audience are health coaches, and we're making certain assumptions about what health coaches might want or need to be successful. I was being interviewed this morning on another podcast. So one of my gym members, great guy, um, has his own YouTube channel, and he's on this mission to lose 100 pounds. And he's lost a lot of weight on like a vegan diet actually, and then really fell off the rails, gained it all back, and he's back on the wagon now, as far as just trying to lose weight. And he asked me if he could interview me for his podcast, and I'm like, sure, absolutely, anything I can do to help. But I had to remember, because he's asking me questions about advice and tips, and what do I think about this, what do I think about that. But I have to remember, I'm not talking to health coaches, right? I'm talking to somebody who maybe reads an article here or there, right? And his audience are people like him that have a lot of weight to lose, that they've lost it and gained it and lost it and gained it, and they're completely bewildered. So I had to keep it super simple, and basic, but not sound as though I'm dumbing it down,
Right.
right? It was a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah, well, that's actually a great bit of advice for coaches who are putting out content. Remember that you are putting out content for your avatar client, ideally, and they're probably not savvy
Right.
and up to speed on the research like you are. They're not devouring media like you are. You have to bring it down, which I think is a bit of a relief. I think a lot of times we hear this a lot. Is part of this imposter syndrome thing, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm not up to speed in all the latest research. I don't think I have all the science down pat. It's like, you truly don't need to, unless you're chit-chatting amongst your peers, but to your clients,
Right.
you don't have to know that much. So it's interesting. You had to kind of like step
Mhm.
back into like that framework of speaking to the end user, the
Right.
end health consumer.
Exactly, right? So as you're building content, keep that in mind, because so many of us get stuck talking to our peers and not realizing it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Like let's say you post on your Instagram feed and you some very I actually did this by accident yesterday. This is why I
Okay.
posted on my Instagram feed, or maybe it was in my stories, either way, kind of this long riff about metabolism. and fuel substrates. I was like, okay,
You use
we've
that
got
word?
glucose. I did fuel partitioning. I'm like, we got glucose, we got glycogen, we got ketones, we got, the whole 9 years, lipolysis, and gluconeogenesis. And it was like, so fellow health coaches listening or taking in that content would be like, yeah, okay, but to my avatar client, that's gibberish, complete gibberish.
Yep.
We got to bring it back to them, right?
Yep, absolutely. That's one of the biggest things I've learned in this past year.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. So it's been a year. It's been an interesting year for health coaching. I don't know, just off the top of your head, what do you think was like a pretty big topic or situation or occurrence that happened in the health coaching space this year?
Oh boy. So from someone in my role here for Primal as the admissions director, the kind of things people are asking about as they are thinking about deciding about health coaching or picking a program or trying to figure out what they want to do. This whole sort of state like licensure thing keeps coming up. This accreditation, who are you accredited through? And it's become an even bigger story and topic of conversation this year than it ever was. And, we've talked about it on this podcast before. And, it's not that my opinion of the whole sort of accreditation thing has changed. I still think right now, from a financial or professional benefit standpoint, I don't think it does anything for folks that want to own their own business. But based on what I've seen and just how rapidly things are changing, I'm definitely now a believer that I think it's going to play a role somewhere.
Cool.
As we get farther, I still don't think it will be required, but I do think over time, as health coaching becomes more mainstream, more widely accepted, more consumers are savvy about what it is, they'll start asking more intelligent questions. And they're just going to want to know that you've graduated from a reputable program. They're going to still need to trust you. And that I think from the standpoint of this third-party accreditation, just be smart about it. It's a lot of money. It's a pretty big commitment, actually. So be clear on kind of what it is you really want to do before you go down that road. But I do think it's going to be worthwhile for those that need it.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's actually a great point. That was a really big topic this year. And so where we're at right now it's December the 20th, 2019, where we're recording this. It's going to be live on a different day. But anyway, as of this recording, the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaches, NBHWC, is truly the only, and that may change. It may change. There might be more that come online. Right now, that's the one and only. So if you're looking into that, those are the guys to pay attention to. They only have certain programs that are approved. That if you graduate that program, you can sit the exam. And I think more programs like ours are trying to shore up their curriculum requirements to meet the standards of the NBHWC. But as accreditation becomes more of a thing, more accrediting bodies may come online, and then it'll just be we'll have a more robust position in the marketplace. I think we'll feel a little bit less like we're on the fringes, which will be nice.
Right. It'll be nice, but at the same time, I think there'll be aspects of that we kind of miss about being on the fringe. I mean, at this juncture, my practice is my practice. I can run it any way that I want to. I can describe what it is I do any way I want to. I can call myself a health coach and offer whatever services I want to, for the most part, within the legal ramifications of where I live. My only concern with any kind of licensure or any kind of third party, like larger accrediting body, is that if I am going to be a representative of that accrediting body, I'm going to have to actually sign an affidavit that says I'm going to run my practice within what they view to be the scope of a health coach, right? And I think we're going to find more and more people trying to put up, not barriers, but I guess like lanes, right? That health coaches have their lane and they need to stay in that lane. And we're going to see less opportunities to branch out and kind of blur those lines than we do now. if that were. So I guess for those people that I guess are hoping for licensure, hoping for some third party to actually provide your credibility, just watch what you wish for. Because with that's going to come some handcuffs, you know? So with credibility and licensure and accreditation, it's going to come some handcuffs, and you just need to be able to balance the benefit and the issue with both of those things.
Great point. That's actually a great point. Yeah, we are really in a hurry. And just sort of like as an offshoot topic, you know, a lot of coaches are, when they get into the space, they're looking for a job, they're looking for somewhere to work. And it's like, oh, okay. I mean, yeah, you can go work somewhere if you want to. But for a lot of us, it's like, I'm tired of working for somebody else. You know, I want to do my own thing. Like maybe to your point that the sort of flexibility and freedom we have right now is quite nice, quite delightful. And it could become maybe structured to the point of being slightly less fun and freewheeling. Who knows?
Right.
Who knows? It's the Wild West. We're figuring it out as we go. But on the topic of like sort of state regulations, I know right now is interesting because I think it was just New Jersey just slammed the door shut a little bit on health coaches, and Pennsylvania I think is up next if I'm correct. It's like kind of like the states are starting to kind of step in, the state legislature, and start to look at these regulations. And
it's a mixed bag there, because so New Jersey came out with a pretty aggressive proposal on their law that actually got shut down. So Jonathan Posey and his holistic council, they also had some help from a couple of other entities like CrossFit and some other legal lobbying entities. That they were able to kind of kibosh that for now. I'm on the board of for holistic health educators. Actually, I'm trying to do what I can to kind of help him think through, you know, priorities and where we can help. But anyway, so, but I have absolutely no doubt they'll be back. Right. And so the next one on the docket, which was agreed. So New Jersey was a pretty liberal state, right? And it was kind of the wild, wild west. They were looking to basically make it a green state, right? Or a red state, like a restrictive state. That's been kiboshed for now. Pennsylvania is what some people refer to as a green state, and they're looking to add a licensure law to make it a red state. But so there's going to be a call to action to try to kibosh that. But then there are some other states like Florida that right now are really tough. But some of the legislatures there are at least now willing to listen. I don't think anything's going to move real soon, but I think they're more willing to listen. And same thing with the state of Georgia. So while we have some states that are at risk of flipping to be less free, we have others that are becoming less restricted at the same time. But one of the things that came out of my interview with Jonathan Posey during the masterclass, so if you have not signed up for our virtual masterclass, it's free for the first 7 days. Do it. Sign up for it. There's an interview in there with Jonathan Posey. And one of the things that I really took away from there is health coaching is legal in every single state. Health coaching is legal in every single state, right? But the breadth of that practice is what could be limited, you know, more limited depending on where you live. And he really came out with some great advice around, if you're in one of these states that's much more restrictive, consider group coaching. Consider doing just public workshops, right? Consider focusing mostly on the coaching aspect of your business and less on the dietary advice aspect of your business. Lean on the resource, being a resource provider, right? Lean on being a source of education and a source of empowerment for your client rather than the dictator of what the diet should be. And you'll be fine.
Right. Yeah. Good. Yeah, that was great advice. I loved when he dropped that bomb. I was like, oh yeah, great point. Just he's so good at reframing this doomsday sort of these thoughts we have.
Oh, I know.
You know, that our practice is going to be taken away from us. I think when a lot of health coaches imagine what their practice is going to be like, maybe we imagine we're standing there with a clipboard dictating to our clients what they eat, but that's really not how a coaching relationship remotely shakes out at all. So lots of flexibility.
Absolutely. You're so right. And I'd like to make a plug for our own course for just a quick second. One of the things he did say is, when it comes to dietary advice, if it is totally legal in every state for you to just be able to refer your clients to resources, provide resources, that if they had your personal experience, your background, your education, and it's publicly available. They could find it on their own. Okay. So one of the huge advantages of being associated with a brand and Mark Sisson is this man has decades worth of content and resources that are publicly available that you can build an entire library out of and refer those to your clients if you live in one of these states that's more restrictive.
Yeah.
Got a client that's asking about intermittent fasting? Here you go. Not saying I'm recommending it, right? But this is based on, all this public information. What a huge benefit for aligning yourselves with an organization like ours. I'm sorry, that's my plug, my little plug.
Hey, go for it. Yeah, so that's definitely a huge trend, and that really bubbled up into the sort of foreground, I think, of our awareness in the later part of this year. And I think actually this whole conversation, like our whole year in review conversation we're having now, a lot of this conversation is going to be dominated by what's recently happening.
Right.
So for me, one of the topics that is very recent and very front of mind for me from this calendar year, and I'm hopefully not going to get to is infighting.
Oh yeah. Sorry,
I'm having a little internet connectivity problem here. So infighting amongst health nerds, let's call it. This is happening right now. We're really just mired in these arguments with each other, right? On the very polar ends of the spectrum. So the example that's in the marketplace right now is this documentary that came out, The Game Changers. I watched the documentary. It was like, okay, I did not lose a moment's sleep over it. It was like, all right, I mean, I guess. Go for it. If you want to eat a plant-based diet, please go ahead. If you, whatever. I'm really thankful that health consumers have resources to learn things, and whether or not that documentary was well put together, well researched, who cares? It's entertainment as far as I'm concerned. I was very entertained by it. But now we have these debunks and the debunk of the debunk, and we're really just arguing amongst each other. So we have the plant-based people fighting the carnivores, and then there's like the omnivores, and it's like all these people with these identities around their diets, and people who work and play in the space arguing amongst ourselves. And who's really getting lost in these ridiculous endless arguments is the health consumer, is the end user, is the client. Again, if you take to your social feed and you start ranting and raving about what a load of bull crap this documentary was or that documentary was, your health consumer end user client, it's not landing with them. It doesn't resonate with them. It doesn't even solve their problem in the slightest. We're here to solve the problems of our clients. And, for those in the medical space, of our patients, right? And the reason I brought up medical space is because a lot of the people arguing these things are doctors. And it's like your patients, your clients are not benefiting from these very polarizing arguments. And think about how many hours of my life I spent listening to arguments on podcasts between warring factions, the vegan guy versus the omnivore guy, the carnivore guy versus the plant-based guy. And it's like, why am I, but like, I'll never get those hours back. And I don't think I got any smarter from it, honestly.
I know. Oh gosh, I know. I watched it too. And I remember when it was done thinking, I don't really understand what all the excitement's about. I didn't think it was outstanding. I don't think and I guess because I'm coming from a place that I already know better, right? So I watched it and I already kind of knew the flaws in the argument, and they're the same arguments over and over and over again that are still really not true, not the way they're presented. And I know this,
right. Yeah.
But then I see stuff in, maybe it's Facebook or Instagram, because I do belong to a bunch of private groups. Maybe it's a weight loss group. I belong to a women's strength training group. It's called Barbells and Ponytails. I love that group. Women are so fun. But you get people who are asking, hey, I just watched the Game Changers movie and I'm thinking of going vegan. Just watching one movie. And I'm like, wow, it is really that powerful to people that have no clue, right? Yeah. And I was so tempted to try to answer. And then I realized whatever I'm going to be able to say in a paragraph amongst what everybody else has already told this woman is going to be pretty meaningless, right? So I I often try to just stay out of that stuff. And as a matter of fact, so little example, this little podcast that I was on earlier, you know, he had a great point to your point that people are completely bewildered. You know, I've been unsuccessful at trying to lose weight for years. I gain it, I lose it. I gain it, I lose it. Should I go vegan? Should I go keto? What should I intermittent fast? Like, what should I do? And, you know, what I said to him was, I think what you need is a nutritious diet that you can stick to forever. Mm-hmm. You know, I said, this notion that diets don't work isn't entirely true. They will work while you're on it.
Yeah.
While you're on it, it'll work. But if you can't stay on it, what's the point? Right? So what you need is to get out of, and I've heard you use this term, get out of the diet mentality entirely and just think in terms of food in general and how it affects your body and how to construct this strategy, this way of eating, this dietary strategy that you can actually hold on to forever.
Yeah. Yeah. That could be literally anything for somebody, right? So I was thinking about this too, because, you know, like my confirmation bias, because that's what this all comes down to, is our confirmation bias. Like anybody who's getting on a podcast and arguing is only arguing their point of view. And I feel like you'd have to lobotomize yourself to be able to truly open and broaden it and really explore all the different sides. It's really hard, but I was thinking about this because from where I'm concerned is the key to all this is just managing hunger. If you're less hungry, this is all easier. The choices are easier. So if you can find foods that just happen to really satisfy and satiate your hunger, you're ahead of the game. However, then you have like the flexible dieting people, just as an example. And the people who gravitate toward flexible dieting are the people who really want to be able to have their treats. Okay, so that's one of the, I guess, foundational elements of flexible dieting. One of the benefits to it is I can have my treats as long as it fits my macros. That's good for me because I'm a kind of person who I will suffer and fail if I can't have my treats. So I need to have my treats. They need to fit in. On my side of the argument, it's like I don't really eat treats because I'm eating satiating food when I'm hungry, and that's kind of how my relationship with food is. But that's not everybody's, right? That's my confirmation bias. My confirmation bias is all you got to do is manage hunger and it comes out in the wash. And that's how I coach my clients. And the clients who come to work with me are looking for that. If a client is looking to figure out a way to factor peanut butter cup ice cream into their diet every day, I'm not your girl. Right. The flexible dieting approach might work for you then. So, you know, it's just, you know, we have, again, it comes back to solving the problem for the specific client that's in front of you. Yeah. And what's really beautiful is every single health coach in the world could come up with their own unique methodology, right? Which I think is exciting and empowering. But we can't get wrapped up in our own confirmation biases. And I think the problem that I'm trying to articulate unclearly is getting on our megaphones and shouting our confirmation biases out to the world and just ad nauseum, just shouting isn't actually helping anybody. No. Not every, those are the ones you really need to speak to. And so how can you speak to them in a way that resonates?
Yeah. I think you got to stop shouting and you got to start listening, period. Right. You know, and to your point, I mean, you and I have talked about my little experiment. I tried that whole flexible dieting experiment because I've got more and more people that are asking me about it just because of my role outside of Primal with the gym. And I tried it, and you know what? Guess what? It worked while I was doing it, right? It worked. But one of the things I noticed, to your point, is factoring in a higher carbohydrate load to meet whatever need they were telling me I needed to eat. Like my mind and my biochemistry, I found myself fixated on food all the time. I was ready to eat again. I was thinking about when I was going to eat again when I took that approach. So even though I might have been able to fit in some more treats in there because I had the, you know, this room in my carbohydrate load, from a standpoint of just my own kind of mental health and psychology around food shifted with it.
Yeah.
Right. But I think you can still take because I do think there's some value in understanding how much you're eating, understanding where your calories are coming from. Like there's some value in that, but I don't think you have to be fixed. I think you can do the same thing if you're eating 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day, just making sure you're getting enough protein, right? Making sure that you're getting enough to support your activity levels. But over time, you're just not going to need to do that. To your point, when the hunger signal shows up, it's time to eat. And if you're eating the right foods, your body's going to shut that hunger signal off. And then you don't have to worry about fixating over it all the time. I mean, so I went back to the way I kind of normally ate, but I'm just much more aware now of how much I'm eating and making sure I'm getting enough of the right stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's switch gears. I want to know what we're gonna do now is Laura and I are gonna share our top 3 favorite interviews from the year. In, I don't know, no particular order. So I'm gonna make you go first. Give me one of your top 3 favorite interviews from this year and tell me why it was one of your faves.
Oh my gosh, this was so hard. I literally wrote down a list. There's more than 3. And I'm like, I gotta throw out Chris Kelly. He was our second interview with Nourish, Balance, Thrive. Like, what a fantastic interview. What a fantastic guy. I love what it is they're doing over there. He was easy to interview, gracious, really dropped a lot of useful resources and information that, again, the ... health coaches can use and is relevant to health coaches. I went back and listened to it again, and that was really good. It's a really good one.
That one made my list too. It was a really good interview, and like literally, coaches go back and listen. It's episode number 2. He gives really cool tactical advice for like orchestrating your coaching relationship that I had never thought of before. Like really, really cool ideas. And as a fun sidebar, although it's episode number 2, it was actually technically the first interview we did. And
right.
he was so cute because he's like, you guys will get better at this, don't worry. Like, okay.
It's our first clue. Maybe we should be doing yeah, that was so. If you are new to Health Coach Radio and you haven't listened to any of those early episodes, go back and pull that one up. What about you?
Yeah, that was a good one. All right, one of my faves, the interview with JJ, is because, first of all, behind the scenes, we only had, I think it was like just over half an hour with her, 45 minutes. I think she had a hard stop. So we had to get that interview like really done in a nimble fashion. And so we just hit it hard. And what's great about JJ is she is zero nonsense. Like she's not there's zero fluff, which I love. I just wish there was less fluff in the world, generally speaking. She gave it to us straight. She's been in the industry forever. She dropped some truth nuggets that I thought were really just a relief to hear. Like her nugget, which we've regurgitated many times, that imposter syndrome is normal and should be expected. And if you're not experiencing it, something is wrong when you're stretching yourself into something new. That was a relief to hear that, actually. And it makes perfect sense. So, I mean, that was one of my favorite interviews. It was powerful. It was a powerful interview with a powerful woman and a powerful leader in our space.
Agreed. Absolutely. I knew you were going to pick hers, so I did not pick hers because I knew you were going to. I don't know how I knew. I just knew.
Right. Who's your next one?
All right, so I'm going to pick one. Okay, so, Okay, so Dr. Davis.
Oh.
He was one of yours too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so my reason for picking his again is because I walked away feeling so empowered as a health coach and my role in this entire orchestration of the healthcare system. I walked away feeling as though not only do I have a role to play in a big one, but that in many ways it's going to be more impactful than doctors, dietitians, and other licensed professionals. Like I really walked away from there thinking like, I'm a health coach and that means I'm a badass, right? And he also gave us so many just really great tactical things that we can use as health coaches, that kind of border on almost diagnostic. We got to be careful, but I really walked away. I took so many notes out of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the one tool that he did share was that Air device, which is a diagnostic tool, but the beautiful thing about it is that it's self-diagnostic. The client performs the test and just tells you where they're at. And as the health coach, you're not diagnosing them with SIBO. SIBO was a big part of that conversation, but anytime the client can self-report, you're cool, like you're good. A client declaring their symptoms to you, declaring things to you, that you're not diagnosing, the client self-diagnosing. So it's a bit, kind of toes the line a little bit.
Yep.
Did you make the yogurt?
I did. I made the yogurt, and it was actually very good. And then we went away. I don't know where I went, so I couldn't make another batch. And then I never really kind of got back on that wagon, but I really need to. It was delicious. It was less expensive, but I don't think I had been eating it for long enough to notice, any major changes. So I got to get back on that horse, because I did make it and it worked. I went out and bought a sous vide and everything.
Oh, yeah, I haven't done it. I think making yogurt's out of my wheelhouse. Doesn't seem like it. No. All right. Well, my second, oh boy. Okay, I'm going to go with Dr. Joan Rosenberg. That one just...
okay. Okay, I'll find another one.
Yeah. So, that one just came out actually a few weeks ago, so maybe listeners have heard that one. But if you haven't, like, what's interesting about Dr. Joan Rosenberg is she wasn't on my radar. So when her interview came up, it's like, okay, what's this all about? And then she proceeded to actually blow my mind. And I remember being on that interview with my jaw just hanging open, like her wisdom around emotions. So there's 8 of them. She's like, there's 8 emotions. And if you ever said on the interview, oh, I feel stupid. Nope, stupid's not an emotion. Nope. Right. She would push back. There's 8 emotions. And when you think about it, you're like, okay, yeah. And I mean, our clients are going through emotional journeys with us, and we go through emotion. It's so interesting to connect to emotions. And what I thought was really just the part that really, I remember, gave me goosebumps when she was talking about it was that what we try to avoid is the physical sensation of the feeling. Right? The physical sensation of the emotion is the part that we don't like, that's icky. And she's like, think about it. You can know what it feels like in your body when you are disappointed. You know what it feels like when you are, I'm struggling to remember what the 8 feelings are, but in your body, like embarrassed was a big one. You know what it feels like when you're embarrassed, that sickening feeling. And that's what we try to avoid. And oh my gosh, like just really reframing feelings into this physicality. Maybe for somebody like who's very kinesthetic like me, it was just amazing. And then of course the whole hook is when you sit with that physical sensation for 90 seconds, it naturally goes away. Your body kind of downregulates, or whatever the case may be. It handles it. And if you just sit with it for 90 seconds, you can actually process it. Instead of just shoving your feelings under the rug and just ignoring them, sit with it for 90 seconds. And that's something anybody can do.
Did you try it?
I haven't yet. I haven't had any feelings yet. Actually, I said that even on the episode. I was like, I can't wait to have a feeling. But I think that it has to start with a level of awareness, and I think I haven't quite gotten there yet, where I'm like my awareness to my feelings is dialed in yet. But and I want to listen to that episode again. I definitely want to read her book again. She sent us her book. I want to read through it. But I think for coaches, why it's so valuable, the interview and her book, is because your clients will go through so many emotions during the relationship with you. Literally, I don't know, Laura, about you, but I barely talk about food with my clients. A lot of the times what I'm talking about is their feelings of shame or disappointment or whatever it might be, surrounding food or surrounding lifestyle or whatever it might be. But the feeling is the thing that your client is struggling to manage.
Yeah. So I don't know, there's a lot of change in my life right now. Right. I'm about 6 months away from hopefully moving, right? Which means I'm going to sell my gym, which has me really kind of sad, right? But at the same time, exciting for a new chapter. We have so much work that needs to be done on this house to get it ready. And my mind keeps running ahead to all the stuff I still have ahead of me before I can get to moving day. And the emotion I'm getting is this overwhelm. Right. And I've recently tried to practice stopping when I'm getting that feeling and just accepting it for what it is and sitting in it. It's hard, but once I'm done And I'm not like this. I'm not like, is it 90s? I'm sitting in it. And then I'm like, okay, what's the next step? It just gives me the opportunity to clear the decks a little bit and then just focus on the next step, because I keep trying to remind myself, all I can do is focus on what I'm capable of in the moment now, because tomorrow's tomorrow. I can't do anything about tomorrow right now. I can only do something about now. Yep. And it's really opened my eyes on kind of reframing some of my own work with my clients when they feel that way. Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Joan Rosenberg.
Yes. Yeah, she's smart person. All right, who's your next one?
Oh gosh, this might sound weird, but if I'm thinking through the lens of who's really given out some super just practical, usable information, I kind of have to throw Lisa Fraley in there.
Yeah.
Because the legal side of this is terrifying for just about anybody that's new to this. And I thought she did such an amazing job of making this all less scary, less terrifying, and feeling as though that there's somebody out there who knows what we're going through and somebody there who can help, to the point where she's actually put together some, I mean, look, it's going to cost you a few dollars to use her materials, but a lot less than it would cost you perhaps to go to another attorney, and certainly a lot less than really screwing things up and figuring out later what you need, you know? So I walked away from there with a lot of notes and a lot of just a better understanding of what I really need to do for my own business.
Yeah, it was there was a lot of relief. Like, thank goodness for Lisa Fraley, because she's an attorney who's also a health coach. I went to an attorney locally here in town to get some of my contracts and stuff done. And the attorney that I went to, although she was really smart about small businesses, and she's generally a very smart person, she's an attorney, for crying out loud, I mean, but not for somebody in the health space, you know? And so there's something really just satisfying about having somebody like a Lisa Fraley, who we could just like, okay, you know what, let's just, yes, to your point, I'm going to download her templates and use her services. It's going to cost me money, but she knows everything. She knows more about what I need legally than I know, and then maybe another attorney would know.
Absolutely. So for that reason, it's so hard because I've got so many on my list. I just want to pick them out. Maybe we can have some honorable mentions after this.
Sure. Yes. Good. Because I have a few more on my list too.
Okay, good.
Because so my third one, I'm struck. Oh, my third one. I have two. Okay. I'm going to go with Sterling Griffin for my third one. So this episode just came out today. Well, the day that we're recording it. So it's a very recent episode. And Sterling Griffin's such an energetic dude, and I love energetic dudes. I wish I was an energetic dude. I wish I was energetic like Sterling. So generally speaking, I think coaches, business coaches are something that I think most health coaches at some point might need, or might entertain the idea of seeking out. Yeah. And so if you do, I would encourage you to seek out somebody who is just very passionate and energetic like Sterling is. And also he completely specializes in online health and fitness coaching and teaches you how to scale that business, which, he's got a great deal of success with it. And since we interviewed him, I've joined his community. I've been listening to his podcast. He just fires you up. Like, his energy will fire you up, and that's not a bad thing. So whether you decide to use Sterling Griffin as your coach or not, just connect with this guy, because he will inspire you. I guarantee it. Yeah.
Tony Robbins can do that for you, and when you can pay whatever it is it costs for a ticket to go see one show for that guy, you can listen to Sterling and get that pump for sure. I remember walking away from that interview just tremendously energized and in a better mood. Right? Yeah, I was in a better mood and like, I got this. I can totally do this. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. So, gosh, that's so hard. but there were like, I don't want to go through details on a lot of these things, but some other people that popped up on my list was Chris Irvin. I thought he really did a great job on talking through keto and keeping it real. I loved Michelle Leota. I mean, what a just like no nonsense. This is how it is. In order to build a business, you have got to get out there and talk to people and make offers, and made sales kind of less scary. Rachel Bell is just an inspiration to me, given her age and the level of success. But then there's also Erin Alexander. I just really loved her. I just enjoyed the conversation with her. And I felt really, I guess, sort of supported and understood with her. Same thing with Lauren Schwab. Same thing. But then I also love our Tyler and Luis, those Keto Gains guys. And there's two together.
Our buddies.
Yeah, I just love them. And then I know Dr. Bo Nichoi as an MD and a weight loss surgeon, really painting the picture for us on just how dire the situation is, and that the medical system is not equipped at all.
No.
I thought he really just did a great job of talking about how he can't, even in his role, there's only so much he can do, Some of my honorable mentions.
My honorable mentions. I'm going to name drop Mark. So
yes,
I get credit for name dropping Mark. Hear that, Mark? If you're listening.
Yes. I didn't want to. I mean, that one almost seemed too obvious, but absolutely.
It is. But Mark's listen, I actually just sent Mark an email randomly. I'm sure, but because I was listening to all these podcasts, like I was saying, I listen to them when I take my dog out for a walk. And I also listen to podcasts when I'm lifting weights randomly, which I know seems really dumb. Okay, good.
I do.
So, but I was listening to all these podcasts, these guys talking about all this like advanced metabolic stuff and all, all the stuff that I like to geek out on, and every single thing these guys are saying and all this research is coming out and they're deciphering this research. It's like, Mark already said that. He said that 10 years ago. He said that 8 years ago. He said that in his first book. He said that and so I wrote him an email. I said, I just want to thank you because I'm not learning anything new because you said it already in a way that I can digest. So anyways, honorable mention to Mark, the guru.
Yes.
Other honorable mentions, if we go out, I'm gonna name drop Jonathan Posey again, because if you are worried about what you can and can't do in where you live, Jonathan Posey is the man. Listen to him, trust him. Like, he's such a trustworthy, kind human, going to bat for us. And please support him. You attend a school like ours, we support the Council for Holistic Health Educators, and lots of schools do. So, we pay him a lump sum of money so he can go and do the work he needs to do. But what Jonathan really needs is people on the ground. If you're worried about the legislation where you live, volunteer, help him with his lobbying efforts. Just keep your finger on the pulse. My final honorable mention is going to go to Carmen Hunter.
Oh yeah.
Another biz coach for health coaches, but anytime a woman gets on, and I don't know why I keep saying woman, but maybe because I'm feeling like I'm empowered in my feminism today. I don't know what it is, but like zero nonsense. I just love how she kind of approached. So her one thing that she said in her interview was this whole idea around underwhelming your clients. Instead of overwhelming them, underwhelm them. And that has been resonating in my mind since she said it. Like, yes, how can I underwhelm my clients with information? How can I really deliver to them what they need? So she's another business coach who takes on health coaches and helps them grow their business. And I think maybe I'll give one more. It's front of mind, who does the My Little Practice.
Oh yeah.
Just interviewed her.
Yeah, she hasn't come out publicly yet, though, right? I don't think
we haven't done
Karen.
Hers yet. Yes, Karen Roselle.
Yeah.
Karen Roselle, hers is coming out soon. If it hasn't come out already, I don't remember where we are in the calendar. But Happy Little Practice is her business, and she is also a business coach for health coaches. I love that there's so many of them. But hers is kind of the opposite of maybe like what a Sterling Griffin would do. Sterling Griffin's like, scale, make 6 figures, 7 figures. Karen's approach is, man, what if you just want like a mellow little practice where you're just carrying a few clients and you're making a few bucks and you're balancing this with every other important thing in your life? And I thought that was actually very refreshing,
Oh
to
yeah.
be honest with you.
Yeah. I remember saying to her, I honestly, if I were to think through all the conversations I've had of people entering our course wanting to be a health coach, that description is probably most people. What they want is a full-time income on part-time hours, with something that is not going to overstress them, and it's going to allow them to live the lifestyle they want to live. That's what I think most people want, right? Is as cool as it might be to be Mark Sisson or JJ Virgin or any of these people that are really up in the upper echelons here, boy, do they carry a lot, right? They've got a pretty big burden. And Mark will be the first one to tell you his biggest issue is managing stress.
Yeah.
Most people want to get out of that day job because they don't want the stress. So this happy little practice, you know, because she does say, she's like, I'm not talking about little practice, little bank account. I'm talking little practice, big bank account.
Yeah.
How do I do that? And yeah.
Well, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's like a full-time income. So be honest, would you be happy to make 80 grand a year if it meant you were working 10 hours a week? Yeah, I would take that. Would I like to make $2.5 million a year? Oh, that would be great. But how much work am I going to have to do? And you can put that on the scales. Like if you're like, no, I'm going to bust my ass to make millions of dollars, like make 5 figures a month or whatever, whatever people are saying, then that's available to you. But if you're like, I want to have a good living, a full-time income with a little bit less of the currency of time being invested, then that's actually available to you too. And I feel like not too many people are actually blowing that horn.
Right.
You know?
Right. I love that tune.
Like make 4 figures a month. 4 figures. Like nobody's talking about making 4 figures a month in health coaching, but why not? Figures a month, I guess. But
absolutely, I love it. Oh, memory lane.
Well, let's look ahead. Let's wrap this up by looking ahead. What do you think is going to be a big health topic or health coaching topic or any kind? What do you think is going to be the big topic of 2020 if you had to predict?
Gosh, trying to think of what's on the horizon. I you know, this is kind of really specific, but I think carnivore is going to continue to grow big. Carnivore and keto. Yeah. I just think there are tremendous therapeutic uses for both of those things. And the fact that people tend to lose weight and have improved body composition is a side benefit. I think that's what's going to drive people there. But I do think keto is going to continue to grow. And I think we're going to see a growing subset of people carnivore. So, you know, what this really means for the health coaching space, I think coaches, whether you identify with either of those, I think you should at least be familiar with them and understand the mechanisms there and what works, and decide whether you even want to, just like people might want to decide whether you even want to take on a vegan client, right? If that's your wheelhouse, awesome. Not my wheelhouse, right? But I was approached, so I took them on. But I do think that's going to continue to grow. I don't think we're anywhere near that kind of falling out of favor.
Do you think vegan is going to grow as well?
I do. I think just extremes in general.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see that continue to grow. And it's interesting to me because I don't know why there are so many people that benefit from something in the middle, you know, but I think people are so disenchanted with the status quo, you know, that they tend to go towards these extremes. Yeah. What do you think?
Just to touch on that though, to circle back on that a little bit, it's like, I think it'd be really great if moderate came into vogue, you know? I think, because sometimes I wonder and I struggle, I kind of touched on this earlier, like, are we just continuing to kind of perpetuate diet culture by pushing these extremes? Like, I'm going on this diet. I don't know. So I'd love to see the resurgence of a moderate approach, but who knows? I think it's, but I was thinking about this, like mine's a little bit different. So bear with me, but mine's more on the mindset space, because I think mindset is generally trending, which is amazing. Like, yay. And so I feel like 2019 was the year of gratitude. everybody's talking about gratitude journaling. I don't know if you tried it. I took up a gratitude journaling practice. It's hard to commit to it, but I did. And when I was consistently doing it, I am not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. My mind changed. The way I showed up in the world changed. The way I thought about things changed. The way things came to me changed. Like I know it sounds totally woo woo and cliched, but it changed my brain. So I think the mindset trend for 2020, I keep hearing this from everybody, is confidence. Cultivating confidence, building confidence, stepping into confidence, figuring out your advantages, and like almost auditing what your advantages are and stepping boldly into them. Maybe confidence journaling will become like affirmations, for example. I feel like the gratitude journaling, gratitude practice, leading into this practice of affirmation, like I am, and speaking in present tense about who you are. So I feel like that's just leading us into this confidence practice. And I'm wondering if that's going to be kind of like the next level on the mindset space.
Gosh, I hope so. And I just think if we as individuals spent more time owning who we really are and really owning what those strengths are and leaning into them, so much easier to be confident than spend all our time trying to be something we're not, or emulating somebody else and trying to be that person because we want what they have, because we saw them on Instagram and Facebook, and I've got an Instagram crush or a Facebook crush on this person, when in reality, all you ever see is the highlight reel. You are not seeing them curled up in a ball in the fetal position on the floor because life just got too overwhelming in this persona that they've put together,
Well, and kind of to bring those two things together, I feel like there's a link between what you said and what I said. It's like, I'm going to try this diet because this diet really worked for such and such a influencer who I think is really smart on social media. And I think there's something about confidently stepping into what your body's asking for, and confidently stepping into like an approach that will support you. And I mean, there's a plug for a health coach right there, because a health coach is there to help a client, I think, uncover what works for them in the construct of their life, in the construct of their own personal health situation. And so if you were confident, then you would be less influenced by influence. You'd be less influenced maybe by documentaries and arguments on the Joe Rogan podcast or whatever, right?
Right. Absolutely. You sit there and listen to people and think, wow, I don't really feel any need to go do that because I'm happy and confident in where I am and where my body is, and having confidence in
you can absorbing information, just detaching from dogma a little bit, I think is a confident approach.
Absolutely. Right. Looking at it from the standpoint of curiosity. Oh, that's interesting. Right. Being able to be a unattached observer and be able to take that information, process it. Does this really mean anything to me? Is it going to positively benefit me in any way? Yes or no? And do with it what you will. But don't let it make you feel less than, or don't let it make you feel as though you don't know enough to have confidence in knowing what you need for yourself or what your clients may need. Yeah.
Well,
that was fun.
It was fun. That was a good little fun year. So we are gearing up for our podcasting year number 2, and it's going to be good as we got some big guests already to kind of start the year off. And then if you're listening to this and you are a health coach, I implore you to reach out to us, because I guess one thing we didn't kind of shout out here on this recap episode is all the great health coaches that we chatted with. But we want to chat with more health coaches. So we have a lot of these experts, the JJ Virgins, the William Davises, but we really, really also want to highlight coaches just on the ground working with clients in whatever. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be successful. You don't have to be a bazillionaire. If you're doing something interesting in the health coaching space, we would love to chat with you, because other coaches will learn from what you're doing. So reach out to us, hello@primalhealthcoach.com.
Absolutely. I mean, we've had, like, going back to the beginning, we had Allie Watts, we had Steve Lane, We had Mike Rutherford, we had Rachel Barber, we had Christina Rice, we had Ray Messina, right, as just some of our own. I know we've recently interviewed a few more. Yeah.
Yeah. Deepak Saini. Yeah, we've had a few. We'd love more.
Yeah, but they're all primal health coaches. So we want to hear from other health coaches too, people that have graduated from other programs. Hit us up. We'd love to hear your story. If you are, because here's, selfishly, as the admissions director here for this course, I get a lot of questions that we get a ton of people that are coming from outside the industry that want to make a career change. So in particular, we would love to hear from folks who came to health coaching after having done something else, right? You found your path, you're here, and you're now health coaching, whether you're running a successful part-time health coaching practice or a successful full-time health coaching practice, or maybe it even morphed into something else, right? Maybe you've got a food-based business or a product like we had Annika on, right? Her CBD oil. We want to hear from folks that have been there, done that are everyday, hardworking, honest people that have made this work for you. We want to know how you did it, and we want to share your story with everybody else. And we also would love some recommendations. Is there somebody that you follow that you think needs some props and would love a platform and wants their voice heard? Send us their contact information. We'll reach out to them.
Yeah. Let's make the second year of Health Coach Radio about health coaches.
Yes.
All right.
I love it.
All right. That's it.
Awesome. That's it. It's a wrap for now. Thank you so much to everybody who has given us an hour or so of your time occasionally listening to the podcast. Send us your feedback, send us your recommendations, make comments, let us know what else we could be doing, what else you want to hear, and here's to a fantastic 2020.
Yeah. All right. Take care, Laura.
Bye.